Oakley, 20-footer, yes, for the tie. For her turnaround shot in the air. It's good. Flash drive. What? Finds the ball. Barkley puts it up. Does it count? It does. Jake O'Donnell said it counted. O'Donnell said it's good. Oh my goodness.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Solar Panel, whether you're watching us live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or wherever else you might be able to find us, or listening to us wherever you get podcasts. We appreciate you, the Flaming Ballers, more than you know. I'm your host, Greg Esposito. Espo, ahoy hoy. And, again, there's only two of us. It's a dynamic duo for a second straight week. I don't know what Dave's doing this week. Maybe his mother's turning 80 again for the second straight week. I do not know, but so that just means that you get more of the Carmel Thunder from down under, or as of right now, the Carmel Thunder right next to me. Saul Bookman. Saul, how are you?
Oh, just living the dream. Just living the dream.
And unfortunately, sometimes that dream's a nightmare, Saul. I understand completely.
If you know me, then you know it is.
By the way, I want to remind you guys that you can join the YouTube channel or subscribe to it. By joining, you become a member of the Flaming Ballers, get a special icon. You support the show financially that way, or you can just subscribe. We appreciate it. Slam that like button as well, as that helps other people find the show. Stupid algorithms and stuff. It's it's the YouTube version of analytics. I don't quite understand it, but just jam that like button. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, a 5-star review is always appreciated. You don't have to say anything nice when you write it. You could totally trash us, but just make sure you give us the 5 stars. That helps people find us on Apple Podcasts. So now that the housekeeping is done, Saul, I know we got a bit I got a bit emotional off the top last week about this Suns team and finally making the playoffs, but this was kind of a fun week. It was a weird week because there was a rough game in there for sure, but this was a fun week for the Suns. And I think, and I'll get your opinion on this as well, that we saw the best 2 quarters of basketball from this team this week in the overtime versus Cleveland and the fourth quarter versus the Knicks. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you what, like, as good as the Suns have been this season, there's been very few exciting moments or stretches of play. Like they've been good, but the amount of emotion that I've seen from this team, in little spurts, like to those two you pointed to. I mean, man, it's hard not to get it's jump off your couch kind of excitement, like talking trash kind of excitement. Like it's something I think we've been missing for a little bit. And as emotionally invested as a lot of us are with this team, it's just nice to see that they're emotionally invested as well. And we get it in little spurts, but they're not like big ones like they were this week. This week was like, man, when you see them turn on the gas against Cleveland, and then you see the way they handled New York after all the trash talking and the physical play, and New York thought that they were going back to the mid-90s with their, trying to be physical with the Suns, and Julius Randle trying to harbor his inner Charles Oakley, which is the softest Charles Oakley I've ever seen, that I'll get to in a second. But hey, it's just fun. It was just fun. Fun game. Last night was fun. It was super fun.
I know Dave's not here, right? But we got to give the people what they want, and we're just going to do it off the top here.
Ooh, Dave, stat me.
I'm sorry, Dave's not going to be able to stat you, voiceover lady, but Espo will do his best to keep you interested. At the
filling
very
the
least.
Void is Espo.
So for our Stat Me Dave this week, which will be a Stat Me Espo, I was looking at it, and the Suns outscored the Knicks 47-17 in the final 13 minutes of the game, including 4 points in the final 2.2 seconds of the third that were pretty unbelievable. Devin Booker drives in, misses a layup. Then you get Torrey Craig, who comes in and lays it back in. And then with, I think it was 0.8 seconds left on the clock, Cam Payne steals the ball and all in one motion, makes the shot.
That was it. That was it. Like when Campaign did that, it changed everything. It was, and you know what? Oh, man. I'll say this right now. If you haven't had a chance to listen to Dave's interview with Campaign, I mean, well, actually, right here, boom, there you go. It's in the link. The link is in the chat. Dude, you got to check it out because Dave does such a great job, and I can't say this enough. Dave does a phenomenal job of really pulling a lot out of Campaign, and Campaign, to his credit, is just very open. He's very, upfront about his journey. And when I was watching this unfold last night, and the way he kind of just, he pulled the team out of a little rut single-handedly by that one play, and the emotion that he shows, man, you can't help but be a damn Campaign fan. I love him.
Oh, I do too. And that shot in and of itself put the Suns up 2 points and put them up for good, right? That swing in momentum was what led to such a big fourth quarter and allowed that 47-17 run to happen for the Suns to win by 23 in the end. And it was, if you get that, like, it's lightning in a bottle. This bench is so important to this team, especially on nights where Devin Booker doesn't necessarily have it, which was the case. This bench can be the catalyst to such great things for this team. And then you look at it and, you also get Chris Paul, who winds up turning it on in that fourth, especially after Taj Gibson decides to dip his shoulder into him and try to start whatever that was. He didn't like the fact that Chris Paul boxes him out, and all of a sudden
it took you back, right?
I had Nash flashbacks, and yet nobody decided to come off the bench, so that was a win. But
that's not even the flashback that I was talking about. I was talking about this one right here.
Yes, we want to go way back.
Yeah, way back.
A little Knicks. If you're listening on the pod, this is going to be totally meaningless. But if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see some clips of a Suns-Knicks brawl from 92-93 that is pretty unbelievable here. You basically get both benches clear. There's punches thrown. There's a skirmish. There's two separate
the good
fights
old days. The good old days.
And I think I've brought this up on the show far more times than it deserves, but Greg Anthony in this fight has one of the worst shirts in NBA history. It's nautical. It's a nautical themed, like.
I think I had that shirt actually. So
wow.
Anyway.
Saul has bad fashion taste, but yeah. Well, I mean, it brought me back to that fight, which was in the same arena back when it was America West Arena. I had Nash flashbacks with how Chris Paul kind of flies towards the sidelines. There all sorts of things, but what struck me in that situation is Chris Paul's composure.
Oh yeah.
Like, Chris Paul does not let crap rattle him. He knew that Taj Gibson was going to get a flagrant foul and potentially get thrown out of this game because of this. And he does not go to get up in Taj Gibson's face. He starts talking to the refs and jawing at Tom Thibodeau.
That's my favorite part, is that he doesn't go at Randall. He's like, Tibbs, get your man.
Well, and he knows Tibbs from like you're saying, USA basketball. So it was like, he's like, I'm going to go to the guy that I know and tell him how much I think this is BS. I'm not going to try to fight Taj Gibson because nothing good comes of it. And I also love that all the players knew to keep their heads in the situation. You see guys waving their arms like, don't take the bait. Don't get into anything.
Look at TA. What the hell, man?
Yeah. And then
Chris, you good?
But you see what he does? He kind of pushes Mikhail away from it. Like, hey, don't get into that. Like, I love that. Like,
he's just a pro, man. He's just a fucking pro. I love it.
The whole thing. Nobody tries to engage him. They complain, but they don't try to engage him. I love this.
Did you see the Suns bench though? Did you see the Suns bench and their instant reaction?
Let's go back and look.
Right here. Hey, we're not going to have any Stoudemire or Diaw situation over here. Everybody keep your ass on the bench.
The coaches are like, don't move. None of you are getting suspended. We need that number 1 seed.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
do
Look,
we?
I love this about this team because they are so. This is what playoff basketball is going to be like, right? It's going to be physical. It's going to be guys going hard at you. It's going to be, just a lot of situations where you could lose your cool, and Chris Paul's showing them right there. No, this is how we're going to handle ourselves. This is the way we're going to do it, and we're going to be all right with it. And then that sparked Chris Paul, like I was saying, because then all of a sudden that mid-range jumper was like, yeah, I'm going to stick this in your eye. Like we may be up 10, we're going to be up 20 soon because you reminded me that it's CP3 time. It's time for me to take over this game and get us some rest.
There's a few guys that you come across that, and I respect LeBron. I want to say this up front, but there's a certain look in some dudes' eyes that are just like really like piercing. Like you just know, like, oh yeah, we effed up. We shouldn't have pissed him off like that. Kobe had it. Jordan had it. It's just this one kind of look. Chris Paul has that look too, where he looks like he will just let things go, and then he will handle things after the game and take your head off. You know what I mean?
Like in the secret tunnel, right?
Yeah, in the secret tunnel, right? So Chris Paul is. I've said it a million times. I very much underrated Chris Paul until he got here to Phoenix, and I got to see him on a daily basis. And watching Chris Paul, I just cannot help feel but that he's just a top 5 NBA point guard of all time. He just is.
Yeah, and I forgot what it's like to have that guy that has that instinct, that has that switch where all of a sudden, like, I love what Book does, but and sometimes he gets in that mode, but I think sometimes he lets emotion take over a little too much. But like CP3, it's just boom. There is that moment where all of a sudden I'm turning it on. This is my game now. You woke me up, and I'm not giving it up. Like that's just how he is. And when that switch flipped, I don't care who's guarding him on that mid-range shot. It is unfreaking believable what he can do. I mean, if he gets anywhere near that free throw line extended, you're pretty much dead at that point as an opponent, and that's going to be huge in the playoffs. But look,
who we just had a question. Who's your GOAT point guard of all time?
It's tough to go against Magic. I mean,
yeah.
I love what Magic did. If you're looking less flashy, it's tough to argue a John Stockton as well, just in terms of running an offense. Steve's good. Steve's great. And the best Suns point guard of all time. But I struggle to put him up there with Magic. Magic's just something different.
I 1000% agree. I think Magic is the GOAT of all time when it comes to the point guard position. And it was more not necessarily just his play on the court, but how he affected everybody else, much like Chris Paul and the influence that he has on this team. There's something to be said about the mentality it takes to be a point guard and to uplift your teammates. And I think Chris Paul does that. I think Magic did that. Steve Nash definitely did that. But Magic did it with such flair and such style, and he could affect the game in multiple different ways because of his size and his height that I just don't think we're ever going to see anything like that again.
No, and you can't ignore how his rivalry with Bird and how they impacted the game pretty much defined modern NBA and saved the league from some relative obscurity. Before those guys, and it's a cliche to say it, everybody says it when they talk about this, but finals were tape delayed. Like people weren't watching the games in the finals even live. But if, knock on wood, if CP3 were able to lead the Suns to finals and win a championship, that may vault him into that top 3 conversation just based on impact that he was able to have even at the age of 36. And he gets over some of those playoff demons and knocks that people have on him. That wouldn't put him past Magic, but I think that would put him in, in that top 3 discussion for sure.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And speaking of which, I think we should just jump right to that, right? You're talking about, the potential of the Suns making the finals or the Western Conference finals and how that would look. Well, shit is getting interesting. If this,
You were
if,
funding the children today, by the way.
I
So.
don't care. It's all for the kids. Book loves the kids. So I mean, it's just if you look at how it is right now, the Suns outside of the play-in stuff, the Suns would be facing the Lakers as we speak today.
Which is
people want to throw up in their coffee this morning just thinking about it.
It is my worst nightmare ever that you have such a great season and your reward for it is LeBron James and Anthony Davis and a team that, if those guys were on, say, Houston or, somebody else, say Denver, maybe it doesn't feel as, oh crap, like the inevitable. Like it feels like you're about to face Thanos, and instead of the Avengers, you've got Rocket Raccoon and a spoon. Like that's like a little bit when you see when you see the Lakers, just because of the history. I mean, I was looking it up. The Suns are 8-4 all time in playoff series against the Lakers, and they haven't won. They haven't won one. So they lost the last time they faced in 2010, obviously, in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they didn't win the first, 6 playoff matchups that these franchises faced. Like, it's like the big brother. And that's what I just don't want to face the Lakers and the history. Maybe I'm of a different mindset. Maybe some people are like, yeah, let's take on Goliath round 1 and get it over with and beat them, shock the world. But
yeah,
it's still LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Somebody in the chat said, we should just lose and drop to 3 so we don't have to face that. But you don't know where the Lakers are going to end up at the end of the day. Also, there's something to be said. Like, I don't know how big a deal it is nowadays, but I know when I was growing up, like winning a Pacific Division title was kind of a big deal, like especially when you had the Lakers in your division. And for this Suns team, that's still on the line. Like, they win a couple more games, they win the Pacific Division regular season title. Like, I think that's a big deal. Like it is, especially when you have the Lakers and Clippers in your own division and you can supersede them. Like, I think that's a confidence builder. It's not necessarily something that they need, but it's something that's nice to have to point to as they move forward.
Well, the lose out and drop out, you're closer to the Jazz. Why not? I mean, I guess it's just try to get that 1 seed.
Yeah, but the Jazz, they have an easy road left, man. They have an easy road left. Look, they got the Rockets, the Warriors, the Trailblazers is the one game that I think they could drop, but that's at home. So, and they played lights out at home, and then they got the Kings and Thunder on the road. It's
going to take luck, but all you have to do is tie them. I mean,
I know. Well, that means that the Suns have to win out. And
I mean, if you believe that the Jazz are only going to lose 1 game, yeah, the Suns have to win out, and it's a tougher road. I mean, the Lakers, Warriors, Trailblazers, Spurs. I mean, that's not, and the Spurs may be fighting for their play in life in those games because they're not in, they haven't locked up a spot in that play-in tournament. So all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, it's not an easy road, but none of this season's been easy for this Suns team.
True.
And let's be honest, none of this has been easy. None of it is anything we expected. So would it shock me if the Suns won out? No, not in the least. Like it would not shock me at all. What worries me is you're going to have almost a week off between when this regular season ends and when the playoffs start. Does that hurt momentum too? Like if you're, I mean, I know it'll help you kind of get healthy, but if you're facing the Lakers, they're gonna play in that play-in tournament. They could have some momentum going. They could wind up gaining some rhythm back with these guys. That scares me. Like there's a lot of things about this, and maybe it's just simply wounds from the past. But the thought of facing the Lakers after having that week off, it scares me. But the storylines would be crazy, right? CP3 going against his buddy LeBron. Monty taking on the team that he said, "Nah, I'm good. I'm going to go coach the Suns," and doing it as the second seed in the West, as the Lakers are flailing a bit. Like it would be a very interesting series. But if I can avoid facing the defending champions who have two of the best players in the NBA in round one, you're damn right. I'd like to avoid that.
Man, I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because I feel like if you play the earlier you play the Lakers, the better chance you have at beating the Lakers. I think if you play the Lakers when they get to the Western Conference Finals, I think you're playing peak Lakers at that point, in my opinion, and that's going to be a much tougher W than if you play them in the first round. And I understand there's a high risk, high reward here that we're talking about. We're talking about playing the Lakers in the first round, and the benefit, you get rid of the Lakers. And you probably don't have to play either one of the Clippers or the Nuggets until the Western Conference Finals. The flip side, you can lose in the first round. Yeah. And everybody would talk about you lost in the first round. Yeah, but you lost to the Lakers, who are, if they beat the Suns in the first round, they're going to the finals, or at least the Western Conference Finals, right? Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's hard. Like, I don't know what everybody else in the chat thinks, but oof.
That's like tightrope walking across the Grand Canyon. Sure, I could hold a record if I get to the other side, but if I have a misstep, I'm falling to my death, right? Like, yeah, sure, there's wins and losses on either side of the ledger here that you could have, but ideal for me, 3-6 matchup, Nuggets Lakers, or Clippers Lakers, and let those teams fight it out and take out one of your top competitors there.
Sure, that's ideal, but I'm saying, like, if you want to play the Lakers, if let me just say like this. If you knew the Lakers were going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, no matter who they played, if you know that the Lakers were going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, would you rather play them in the first round or in the Western Conference Finals?
Western Conference Finals. Because because you will have made the Western Conference Finals. If I lose to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, I go, amazing season, great run. We come back next year and we figure out how to dethrone the champs.
I don't think
you lose in the first round, it feels like you've accomplished
less. What's your best chance to beat the Lakers? It's not when they're playing peak Lakers. When LeBron and AD are on, almost no team in the world can beat them. Like, I understand the Suns team is good. They would have to play a series like no other to get past that point, just like they would have to if they have to play the Nets in the finals. Not so worried about the Bucks, but so it's like you have to fight this grizzly bear. Would you rather fight it when it's just born, or would you rather fight it when it's like, mature and 10 years old? No, that grizzly bear is going to kick your ass. Like,
either way, it's going to kick my ass.
I have a better chance against the young grizzly.
If you're telling me that in that first round, LeBron or AD is guaranteed to miss a few games, fine. Then I want them in the first round. But if they're all playing, give me the ticket to the Western Conference Finals, and I'll take my chances there playing them at peak, so I can at least say I made a run to the Western Conference Finals when nobody expected anything. If you lose as the 1 or 2 seed in round one, it's a bitter taste. It sucks, and it happens at the hands of the Lakers.
But LeBron knows what he's doing. Come on. Like, it's not like you're the number 1 seed and you lost to the Nuggets back in 95 Seattle Supersonics. It's not like that. It's not like the Jazz when they got upset by the Warriors back in the day. It's nothing like that.
It doesn't matter.
You're playing the best. Like, you lost to the best. Like, that's just how it is. Like, it's not the same. Like, I don't know. I just don't subscribe to we got to the Western Conference Finals. You only got to the Western Conference Finals because you didn't have to play the Lakers in the first or second round. If you have to play them in the first round and you get past them, to me, that Western Conference Finals looks far sweeter because now you have a legit reality that you could get to the World Championship.
Hey, who lost to the Lakers in the first round last year? Do you remember?
Nobody.
Nobody lost to the Lakers last year in the first round?
The Lakers beat everybody. They won the
I said, who did the Lakers beat in the first round?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Who do they beat in the Western Conference Finals? You remember it's the Nuggets.
I
Nobody
don't
remembers
remember
the
it's the
first
Nuggets.
round.
I don't remember it's the Nuggets. I just remember that the Lakers won the world championship because I don't give a shit about the other 3 rounds. I really don't. I don't care if you lose in the first round to the Lakers, who end up winning the world championship. You still lost to the world champions. That's all that matters.
I'd rather lose to them in the Western Conference Finals and say I was one step away from the NBA Finals than, oops, I lost in the first round after a magical season.
It's going to
be
you got to go for the knockout blow. You might as well take them out early. That's your best chance.
Look, I think they can beat them whether it's the first round or the Western Conference Finals. Look, I don't think
that's a different conversation.
I don't think this is an either or. It's an inexperienced team in the playoffs. I'd much rather have the Suns young guys have a couple rounds behind them before they have to go toe to toe with the heavyweight champ, right? Even if that heavyweight champ's nursing a few injuries, that's still LeBron and AD in round one. It takes your margin for error to next to nothing. And when these guys haven't been in the playoffs before, I expect a few speed bumps in that first round. And that's why I'd rather face, and I know everybody would rather face, but give me a Grizzlies, give me a Portland, give me somebody other than AD and LeBron in round one, because those missteps are going to be magnified in that.
Oh, I vehemently disagree, because I feel like because of the lack of experience, and all you have is really Chris Paul in the fold and Jay Crowder that have any type of experience playing in the playoffs, and Campaign, but Campaign wasn't a major contributor on those other teams. I just feel like you got as good a chance to get past the Lakers in the first round as you do the Grizzlies, especially considering the way the Lakers have been playing of late and trying to find themselves. It's just a tough go, and I say go for it. And they take them out. So case in point, or in a nutshell, I'm not afraid of the Lakers in the first round. Go somewhere else with that. I don't care. If we play the Lakers, cool. If we don't, even better. But I'm not scared of the Lakers in the first round.
Look, I'll be happy that they're playing anybody in the first round, because I was a younger, thinner man the last time that they were in the playoffs. So I will take anything in the first round regardless. It'll be great to be there again, even if you're facing the Lakers. And yes, would beating the Lakers in round one amplify that Cinderella story that you have going on? Hell yes, it would. I just feel like you need a tune-up for this team. Devin needs to understand what playoff basketball is. So does Ayton. I'd much rather have them have a little confidence.
If the Suns lost in the first round to the Grizzlies, would you feel any better?
No, of course I would feel
you
worse.
Might as well play the Lakers and get it over with.
But I think there's next to no chance, knock on wood, touch metal, whatever your superstition is, that next to no chance that they lose to the Grizzlies. Ooh. There's a much better chance you lose to the Lakers in round one than the Grizzlies.
I'm not going to say anything like that.
You don't think there's a better chance you lose to the Lakers than the Grizzlies in the first round?
I think because of the Suns' inexperience, anything is on the table. I don't know how this is all going to go. I expect them to play very well in the first round. I do. I think that first game is going to be super rough. I do. But I'm not going to say that they're just a surefire bet to beat the Grizzlies if they played them in the first round. I'm not saying the Grizzlies are any good. I'm just saying that the Suns, because of the inexperience, the Grizzlies have always given them a tough time.
So you agree with me?
They might get lightning in a bottle and beat them. But I'm like, there's a difference in mentality too here, Espo. If you're going into the first round to play the Lakers, there is no let down or I'm not getting hyped for this game. You got LeBron and the world champs on the other side. You're going to be ready to go all 7 games in that first round.
That is
try and take them out.
That is fair, because the chance that you're going to have a letdown, that emotionally, mentally, you're not going to be able to do.
We've seen it before, right? They might come into that first round series and drop game 1 because they're just not prepared, or they're just, nervous or whatever. They're playing at home. They lose home court advantage. And then the Grizzlies go back to Memphis and all of a sudden they're playing out of their minds. We've seen it in the NBA before. So I'm like, that's why the Lakers don't scare me. I'm like, okay, let's play the Lakers. Let's get it over with.
Look, I think that's a valid point. You will come in locked in. There's no way you're going to overlook LeBron, AD, and the Lakers
I most
in
definitely
round
just
one.
channeled my inner Jerry Lewis there. I apologize.
Yeah, you copy. You and I, if we both got on a tangent at the same time, it would sound like helium has been pumped into the studios.
Two hyenas in the kitchen just.
Oh God. Yeah. Look, I don't know. I'm already getting that playoff angst, which I love. It's what I love as a fan about the playoffs. Is you get that. There's like that nervous excitement about it, and just thinking about any matchup and what you're just talking about there, the potential for letdown in facing a Grizzlies team or the just having to face the Lakers in the first round. I'm getting that playoff angst, and I'm excited for it. I already got that excitement.
I'm already going to predict what's going to happen too, by the way. I think with the 7-10 play-in, right? I think the Lakers will win that first game just to make sure that they're not eliminated and they make it to the playoffs, right? And then whoever they play in that second game,
they don't have to play a second game if they win the first one. So
because they're the 7. That's right.
They lock in the 7th. So,
Gotcha.
Could you imagine that though? If the Lakers lose that first game and then they have to fight for their lives in that second game. I know as much as LeBron hates that the NBA is looking at that and going, that would be the most dramatic thing we've ever had is the defending champs having to fight, say, Greg Popovich in a one-game winner takes all, gets that 8th seed and goes to the playoffs. Like this whole last week of the season is going to be unbelievable. You've got the Suns and Jazz battling it out for that top spot. You have Nuggets, Clippers jockeying for position at 3 and 4. You've got everything going on with the play-in situation where you got Lakers and Portland and everybody going back and forth. This is exciting, and it's so great that the Suns are going to be in this. Herbie in the chat, one of our flaming ballers, says, "Man, look at us being choosy about opponents after missing the playoffs for 10 seasons." What, did you not think we'd revert to our old ways? Like, of course I'm going to be choosy. Now, if we were sitting at 7, if it was reversed and you're looking up, yeah, I go, hey, I'll take anybody. But when you've played well enough to be the 1 or 2 seed in the NBA, of course you want to look a little bit and go, hey, I want to be picky. I've played so well. I think I deserve something better than here's LeBron and AD, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like getting a nose job and all of a sudden you're more attractive. You're like, oh, now I can be picky because I was never wanted before, but now, come on, ladies.
It's
well, I say nose job because I got a big old schnoz.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I mean, you and I look like we got ski slopes attached to the front of our face. It's not that great.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have plenty of time to debate who the Suns are playing coming up. Hopefully next week we'll have a much clearer picture when we do this, as I think there'll only be one game left in the regular season for the Suns when we record next Saturday. So we'll have a better idea of who at least will be going into that play-in and what it may look like. Good chance that Lakers put it together here in the last week and decide, all right, enough fooling around. We'll take 6, but to avoid the play-in. But man, there's going to be lots and lots of drama, and that's okay with me. That's why we're sports fans.
I have a feeling the Lakers will do that. I have a feeling they'll jump up to that 6th spot. They do play the Trailblazers, I believe, one more time, and I think that will be the game that will decide it. But LeBron's going to come back. He's sitting out with an ankle injury, I believe.
Yeah,
he's supposed to be back, I think, tomorrow night against the Suns.
I think so too. And then that brings up an interesting question too. All right, and I'm just going to ask it. I don't particularly want to lose any games. But is it more beneficial? Well, if you're thinking my way, do you lose? Is a loss to the Lakers tomorrow on Sunday night that big of a deal? Because
yes.
it actually, well, you've got a cushion between you and 3, right? And if you said off the top you don't think they're going to catch the Jazz because the Jazz's easy schedule, a loss tomorrow puts them facing the Clippers or the Nuggets in round 1, the Lakers, and then it gives you likely Portland, Memphis, the likes
Mhm.
of that. To me, I don't know that a loss Sunday night to the Lakers is earth shattering. Is what I'm saying.
No, it's just another confidence builder. That's all it
True.
is. You gotta, every time you can beat that team is a good thing, especially when they're down. You got to beat them when they're down. You just have to, because if you lose to them, it's more of a detriment if you lose than it is a benefit if you win. I'll say it that way.
Look, Seabuck, I'm not saying they lose on purpose. That's not what I'm suggesting. You
Yeah,
don't
but you
lose
were
any.
dangerously close to saying that.
No, I was not. I'm just saying if they actually
Should they
lost,
even play the game tomorrow?
should
Go
they
ahead, your
just
thoughts, Saul.
forfeit tomorrow and say, nah, we don't need to play the Lakers? That's not what I'm saying, all right? I'm just saying if they happen to lose on some fluke that the Lakers play really well and they don't, maybe it wouldn't be.
I don't know who
It wouldn't
8014.
necessarily be bad.
I don't know who 8014 DET is in the chat, but he said LeBron's out because of ankle spasms. I've never heard of that in my life, and I just think it's funny.
That's combining AD and LeBron's injuries. It's back spasms and an ankle sprain. So ankle spasms. Let's do it. All right. Well, I want to shift gears here and talk about, is this the toughest Suns team in terms of mentality and physicality to an extent that we've seen, at least in our time as Suns fans? I know you could get into early 80s, late 70s, guys like Truck Robinson and the like, but is this in the more modern era the toughest Suns team we've seen, Saul?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. The 93 finals team was tough because of Charles Barkley, and mainly only because of Charles Barkley. Everybody else just kind of, followed suit because they were probably afraid of what Charles was going to do to them if they didn't. But since then, there wasn't any toughness about the 7 seconds or less Suns. Let's be real about that. There just wasn't.
Oh, Raja Bell, you could argue.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Raja and tough in terms of like imposing your authority on the court. We see that with certain bully ball sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The Knicks tried to pull that off last night, and they did such a terrible job of that. You can't flop all over the court and then play tough guy. It's just not happening, Julius Randle.
No.
I absolutely think that this team is one of the toughest. I don't even think it's just one of the toughest. I think it's one of the toughest in the NBA. I think they're willing to scrap. I think they're willing to get dirty, and I think they're willing to impart their defensive will against teams.
Edward in the chat says Bledsoe Morris twins teams were bad but tough. I don't know that was tough. I think that was fake tough and stupidity, which is a dangerous combination. Yeah. That's just guys that like to get into fights, but that doesn't make you tough. That's not
the Morai are known for being dirty tough. Like, they'll sweep the leg midair, and then once you land on your back, they'll act like they're like this big dude. But yeah, they were physically out of position to even fight you in that moment, you dirty piece of crap.
Yeah, look, you're 100% right. The Morai are fake tough. I mean, they're the guys that find people that they have a physical advantage over and act like they're tough because of that. I'll give you an example. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to anyways because I don't care anymore. Walking through the tunnel, Markieff Morris, back in the day when I'm working for the team, decides it'd be hilarious to drop his shoulder into me, very much like Taj Gibson, and knock me over while I'm walking out to the court for the game as he was coming out from a pregame, his pregame shooting session. Just thought it was hilarious to knock me over because he could. Like, that's the kind of fake toughness that the Morai bring to the table. It's just, hey, there's a guy that I outweigh by 100 pounds, and I'm like, a foot taller than. I'm just going to steamroll him because I can, and he's wearing a bow tie. So there you go. That's a look into that. That totally fake tough. Now that we've totally gone off topic, but look, best defensive team that we've seen. I think no doubt that this is one of the best defensive Suns teams we've seen in our time. And it's unbelievable, even team defense as well. I mean, it's fantastic what they've been able to accomplish, but they have an edge. They have a big edge, uh, just Torrey Craig has brought a different kind of edge to this team. Campaign in the bubble brought that edge, and just a mentality. I don't even know that it's imposing necessarily. It's a mentality. It's like Chris Paul last night. Sure, you can drop your shoulder into me and think you're tough, but then I'm going to come back and show you what tough really is.
Did you say anything to Morris when he did that?
No, I was just so shocked because he hit me, laughed, and ran off to the locker room. And I was more like, what the hell? Like, have you ever had that happen where you just have a moment that you're just in such disbelief that you're like, what the hell was that? Like, you don't even have time to react because you're more in, really, that just happened,
No,
Plus,
I'm pretty sure I would have got a talking to about something. I would have at least been like, hey, you asshole.
Having read the rap sheet, I also didn't want to get in a fight in the tunnel with the Morai because
but how much of a legend? How much of a legend would you be right now if you did, though?
You know what happens? The $1 million player doesn't usually lose his job. The $40,000 a year social media guy usually loses his job in that kind of a situation. So
yeah, but everybody knows how much of an a-hole those guys are. Dave King in the chat. Good morning, folks. Sorry I can't be there. Staycation. Oh, we got a staycation alert.
I still am going with his mother turned 80 a second time. So happy birthday, Dave's mom, yet again. We're going to go with that. So,
hey, you know how it is. It's a birthday month, not a birthday week.
It is. Blaze Megatron says, Espo is still salty. I'm not salty. It's just
I'd be
an example.
salty too. Like you telling me that story, like instant anxiety started rising, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to punch that guy right in the freaking testicles.
Well, I won't lie. I wanted to, but like there was no. I calculated the risk reward in that situation, and there was no reward. It was just a lot of risk. All right.
If you knew you were going to be where you are now and not with the team, if you could go back in time, would you do it?
No. No. Why would I want to get my
Give me
ass
something,
beat
damn it,
by
Espo. Just say
Morris.
yes. I would love to just. Hit him in the nads or something like that. I'm using all the slang for the
I would have
balls.
loved to have taken. I would have loved to have gone WWE and taken one of the seats for the stands and done smash him over the back.
Do the rock.
Yeah,
there we go.
Let's go. All right. Yes, I was 175 pounds and rocking a bow tie. I don't think exactly that's the kind of fight that they were looking for there.
Herbie in the chat, Dave, more than made up for the 2 absences with the midweek stimmy. Enjoy your vacation, Dave. So,
yes.
Dave King, enjoy your staycation. I'm sure the missus appreciates your Saturday morning off and enjoy.
And that interview was spectacular. So
it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
But does this toughness, does this edge, does it set them up for the playoffs? It feels like the kind of mentality that you need in a 7-game series, right?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'll tell you guys I did Manscaped before the staycation, so I'm the smooth baller of the week right here.
From our friends over at Manscaped.
Espo, be nice. Don't say anything. Don't be mean.
Use the code Flaming Ballers to save 20% on your Manscaped, and you can have a staycation where you're as smooth with the ladies as Dave. 20% off Flaming Ballers, free shipping. We'll get to our smooth baller of the week later. It is not Dave, but I've got so many jokes to make at that, but I'm not gonna. Dave, you're not here. I'm not going to make it. Maybe next week when you're here, I will.
Well, if you've ever seen Grandma's Boy, they did refer to somebody else on that show in that movie as Gray Bush. So,
OC says proof. Send pics to Ash. God, why did we ever open that can of worms on this show? I do not know, but that's why Dave is the closet winner, according to Vincent. Dave is never getting in my prize closet. Okay.
Espo with the sad ad read.
Kirby. Yes, that was the saddest Manscaped breed I have ever known.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shamil, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing, but Shamil says, "Yeah, Espo will give you merch like a ball pouch." Hey, look, okay, let's get back on track. We'll get to the smooth baller and make all of our jokes here. And oh God, Buck Dog, I bet the floor, Dave. Where Dave shaved looked like Gandalf's barbershop.
Oh, that's a good one, Bug
We are
Dog. That's a good one.
the least self-respecting Suns podcast on the internet. Believe you me.
You know what, though? You know what? It's all in good fun, and Dave's always a great sport about it. And we miss him. It's been 2 weeks now. I feel like he's breaking up with us, but hopefully he'll be back next week. I'm sure he will be. We also have some other things in the works for the future, mainly the playoffs that we're gonna hopefully get cemented today, and we'll announce later on this week. But some really fun stuff coming up.
It does not involve Dave and Manscaping.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
So you know, C-Buck calls us the shameless
ballers.
I got nothing. Awesome. I got nothing anymore. You're not getting this from any other Sun show. I'm going to tell you that.
Speaking of toughness, not the balls. Yes, I do think that this Suns team has what it takes to be tough in the playoffs. I feel like they've been basically playing this way because of CP3 all season. The slowed down tempo to a degree. They run down the shot clock basically all the way down to less than 5 seconds almost every single time. They're physical. They play great defense. And what they showed this week, they can turn it on at the drop of a hat. And they did that in overtime against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They did it in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. And you just never know. And the Suns runs aren't just, like little, they have the 6 to 8 to 10 point runs for sure. But there's a difference between those kind of runs and, yeah, we're taking this game over kind of run. And the Suns did that twice this week, and that's what makes it so fun to watch because you can feel it, right? When you're watching the game, you can feel like, oh shit, this is happening right now. Like, and you just know every single bucket's going their way. They're getting all the breaks. They're getting, DAs getting blocks. Like, it's just beautiful basketball to watch when they're on those runs.
Well, and we've heard from national and some local people, well, do the Suns have that next gear? They've played so hard all year, and that's how they want. We saw that next gear twice this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's on a dime, things shift, and they just completely dominate a game. And that is truly amazing to me what they've been able to pull off with that. And that's what, combine that with the toughness, that's why I think this team is built for the playoffs. And props to James Jones. James Jones, I think, looked at this and knows with all that playoff experience, this is the type of group that you need to try to win in the playoffs. What I also love is how interchangeable certain parts on this team are, right? Jay Crowder misses time, so you wind up seeing Torrey Craig step in. Dario Saric kind of falls off the map a little bit, and then you see Frank Kaminsky, after not playing for a while, come in and have an impact. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just Javon Carter doesn't play for a while, comes in, starts to have an impact when Campaign was out at different times. Like, there's just so many levels to this roster, and you're looking at guys like Langston Galloway and E'Twaun Moore, who had an impact early on, haven't seen the floor. But if something happens, if you have a break glass in case of emergency situation at some point this playoffs, I feel like you can trust those guys because they've proven it, and that's how deep this team is. And I don't think we've ever seen a Suns team quite like this.
No,
ever.
I mean, again, it's not a big three; it's a big four. I'm going to say it like that because Mikal Bridges, man, he's just so much fun to watch. Mikal Bridges is, I know that this is one of the topics we're going to talk about today, but when we're talking about X factors, Mikal Bridges is the X factor. You saw it last night when Devin Booker was getting double teamed and the Knicks were doing a pretty good job of keeping him away from getting his. Who else was going to step up? It was Mikal Bridges and DA. That's what you texted me last night. Like, if DA plays like this, dude, we have a legit chance at winning an NBA championship. And you're absolutely right. We do. If DA continues to play at a high level like that, especially offensively, yeah, absolutely. And people in the chat were saying, like, you got to feed DA. You got to feed him, especially when they're trying to take away one of your key assets. Who else is going to step up? It's DA and Mikal Bridges. If they can keep defenses honest, then Devin Booker is going to be able to get his, because he's going to be, the other two are going to be too much of a threat to ignore. And that's what makes this team so special. And then if you can get Cam Johnson back into his groove, and, I underestimated Jay Crowder, man. Jay Crowder coming back last night, I forgot what kind of a physical presence and intimidation factor that he provides for this team. He gives this team a little bit more of a firm backbone when he's on the court. And you saw that last night. Dude, this team is just, man, I love them. I just love this team. And I don't really care what happens in the playoffs. I just love how they got to where they are right now and how it's all unfolded.
I read a stat, and forgive me, I don't remember who, I think it was a tweet. The Suns are 30-9 when DA takes more than 10 shots in a game. 30-9. Like, to me, that just screams, feed him a little bit more. Like,
Please.
not even massively more, just a little bit more. And maybe the way the playoffs are going to go, we're going to see more people try to do what the Knicks did. That was a strategic defensive choice in that game, to not double down on DA and not force the issue with him, but try to shut down CP3 and Book. And DA came through against the Knicks.
Dude,
that may be something we see in the playoffs.
I think DA is right here. He's right here. He's so close. He's so close to getting over from, just a good player to, now here's the number one pick. And I think when you see that switch flip, he's going to be averaging 25. I just feel like he will, because he'll have the confidence, and the team will have the confidence in him to make sure that he gets his 25, just like they have the confidence in Devin Booker to feed him as much as they do. And I think CP3 has a big part of that. And assuming that CP3 does stay past this season, I think that's going to be one of the key focuses in the offseason, is getting DA to maintain that level of focus and intensity on the court, like he did this year on defense, on the offensive side. And I think, you could just almost feel it, right? When you see players that are starting to figure out, Mikal Bridges is right there too, right? He's so close to getting over that little hill, that rookie, the rookie fundamentals and the rookie kind of, whatever, to getting over to like star status. And I think Mikal Bridges is almost there. DA is almost there. And in the playoffs, I could very much see in the playoffs them taking that next big step. And once they take that next big step, this team is totally different. Totally different.
Agreed. And to your Jay Crowder point, one of my favorite moments in that Knicks game was Crowder hits that corner three, turns to the Knicks bench. I can only imagine what he says, because we can't read his lips. We only see the back of him. And then he gets teed up. But I'm like, that's the kind of edge. Sure, a technical foul isn't the greatest thing, but the fact that he was just like, I'm going to chirp at you now because we've got this game in hand, and you've probably been bagging on me all game. I just love that. I love that kind of attitude.
And
I love that it's from the Suns finally.
He probably channeled that inner Jimmy Butler and told him they're all soft like baby, poop.
Well, let's Dave already kind of spoiled the fun of the Smooth Baller of the Week, but let's go to the actual Smooth Baller of the Week. Oh yeah, got Bush, not if you got Manscaped. That's right. Use the code Flaming Ballers to save 20% off any Manscaped order and get free shipping. Our Smooth Baller of the Week is the aforementioned Mikal Bridges, averaging 18.25 points, 3.25 rebounds, 57% shooting from the field, 56% shooting from three-point range. Mikal Bridges was smoother than Dave on his weekend staycation with the misses. Look, I have been truly impressed with what Mikal has done over the last week, and he's growing so much this season, and consistency is going to be key. We've talked about it, him, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton. If those guys can be consistent in the playoffs, this team is in for something special. So yeah, If you don't want to look like Monty Williams in The Mask, or a reverse Cam Johnson, I'm running out of ways to describe this without getting too lewd for anybody.
Yeah.
If you don't want to look like Dave before he went on his staycation, where it's a Malcolm Gladwell kind of situation, if any of you know that, that's a very random poll. But
Yeah. I don't know what the hell that means.
if you don't want the boys to look like Saul's chin, use the codes Flaming Ballers for 20% off. You can get Manscaped, any of their products, and we highly recommend them. As Dave has made it clear, we're not just spokespeople. We actually use the products. So
we do.
Flaming Ballers, 20% off any of those Manscaped products, free shipping.
I got to say something too, just so you all know, like this is probably going to embarrass her, but I have multiple Manscaped products, shout out Manscaped. And so she was like, can I get one of your new ones? And I was like, sure. And I gave it to her and she loves it too. She uses it for herself, take care of business down there. There you go. There you go.
Look at that.
Whoa, Manscaped. There you go.
It's all bringing see for the one female listener out there, if you want to try Manscaped, use the code Flaming
There might
Baller.
be dudes that got girlfriends and wives that are like, oh, that's a pretty good idea, Saul. Thanks for looking out.
I don't know how shipping works, but if you're looking for a Mother's Day gift, Flaming Ballers, save 20% off. You'll probably get slapped, but she'll at least have a new trimmer. So that's what you can say. So again, thank you to our friends at Manscaped for making this show a little less appropriate if you have children in the car. So that is where we're at. Oh, I wanted to drop another stat on McHale here, right? I know we already did stat me earlier.
I already took it down. Sorry.
Here's a second one. We don't need the voiceover lady. McHale in the first 3 minutes in overtime against Cleveland, 8 points, 2 blocks, a steal, and an assist. Yeah, that's pretty good, I would say, in 3 minutes. I don't know. That's more scoring than Dave's doing this weekend. All right.
Why you always got to bring Dave up, man? Just let the man be. Dave,
he brought it up.
Dave, live your life.
That's a positive.
Ignore the noise.
That's a positive. I don't. That's not a. Look. It's fine. But McHale coming through big for this team, and Saul, I think you're right. I think there's a chance that we see McHale, we see DA take that next step in the playoffs, and this Suns team really announce themselves at a new level. Like I really think that is a big possibility here.
I absolutely agree.
Any final thoughts before we hello says in the chat, Espo is manscaping Dave's ego. All right. Anyways, any final thoughts before we get out of here, Saul?
No, OC Viagra should not sponsor the show.
Hey, I will read an ad for anybody if they pay enough money, and I mean that.
Dollars. Let's go. No, again, we're going into the last week of the season. There's 5 games left for just about everybody. There's 5 games left. The NBA did a great job of trying to even out the playing field the last week of the season and make sure everybody had the same amount of games. And when I looked at the schedule this morning, everybody does have about the same amount of games. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. The play-in is going to be fascinating. I'm really anxious to see where the Lakers are going to fall. And more importantly, I don't really care at this point as long as the Suns don't fall below the 2 line. What the Suns do this week. It's all about, just staying healthy, playing good basketball, and seeing where the chips fall. And then it's playoff time, baby.
Anybody but the Lakers. And I can't wait. Playoff time is going to be fun. We're going to have a better idea of where things sit as of next Saturday. We're gonna have a pretty good idea going into those play-ins, and then it is playoff time right after that. We're going to be looking at the 2 Saturdays from now. We'll be talking about the Suns' first round matchup and probably that first game that they're going to be playing. Hey, we've gone a long way. We've waited a long time for this, and it's exciting to know that it is almost here. We'll be here with you the entire playoffs, so make sure to subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Hit that join button on YouTube. Get in there. Let's have some fun together in this playoff run. We've been going through a lot. We've gone through a lot together on this show over the last 4 years, and it's time to celebrate a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have some fun. So you can follow Saul on Twitter at Saul_Bookman. The underscore is there because the Saul's got that salty language, and the Bookman is just not comfortable with it. It's just not comfortable with it.
It's not for everybody.
I was gonna go Manscaped joke, but we've had too many of them. You can follow me at Espo on Twitter. You can follow the show at Sun Solar Panel. You can follow the absent Dave King at Dave King NBA. You can ask him how his staycation went there on the Twitters. So for Dave, for Saul, we will talk to you next week here on the Solar Panel. Ahoy hoy.
Barkley, 20-footer, yes, for the tie. Her turnaround shot in the air. It's good. Flash. No. Finds the Barkley puts it up. Does it count? It does. Shake